The entire cast of Bonanza was supposed to grieve together when the show's beloved star, Dan Blocker, passed away in 1972. However, one man was absent. Blocker's longtime friend and co-star Pernell Roberts surprised fans and co-workers by skipping the funeral. There were rumors of resentment, personal conflicts, and traumatic experiences that prevented him from being present. The true cause was discovered decades later, and it's much more difficult than anyone thought. In 1972, Dan Blocker, who was well known for playing Haas Cartwright on Bonanza, passed away unexpectedly at the age of 43 due to a pulmonary embolism that occurred after gallbladder surgery. The repercussions went well beyond Hollywood. Both on and off-screen, Blocker had been the center of attention. Renowned for his friendliness, sense of humor, and modest, grounded demeanor, fans, co-stars, and the entire television community were devastated by his passing. The fact that Pernell Roberts, who had portrayed his on-screen brother Adam Cartwright and had collaborated closely with Blocker for years, did not attend the funeral has, nevertheless, generated interest and conjecture for many years. Roberts' absence can be explained by a number of important factors. His complicated relationship with Bonanza came first. After 6 years, Pernell quit the show in 1965 because he was dissatisfied with his character's limitations and the plot's apparent shallowness. In addition to complaining that his character, Adam, was a grown man in his 30s who was always having to ask his father, Ben Cartwright, played by Lauren Green, for permission, he frequently attacked the show for being junk television because he believed it did not address important or socially relevant subjects. To decide. A rift developed between Roberts and the show as a result of this creative discontent, and he also became emotionally distant from the cast he had left behind. It was probably challenging to attend the funeral because Roberts had been absent from the Bonanza cast's everyday lives for almost 7 years by the time of Blocker's passing. Second, Roberts' introverted and private personality was a major factor. Like Blocker himself, he was renowned for being extremely private, avoiding emotional outbursts in public, and avoiding the limelight. The funeral of such a well-known television personality would have been accompanied by an overwhelming amount of media coverage. Attending a public ceremony in front of cameras, reporters, and fans may have felt invasive or unnatural to Roberts' grieving process. In order to honor Blocker without the distraction of public spectacle, he most likely decided to grieve in private. Roberts' relationship with mortality and grief was also complex. After outliving many of his Bonanza co-stars, he had once called himself Pernell, the last one. Roberts, displaying a contemplative, even brooding, approach to loss. This implies that he dealt with the emotional burden of death in a personal, introspective way and carried his grief inward. Therefore, his absence from the funeral was not necessarily an indication of disrespect or a lack of interest, but rather an extension of his innate propensity to deal with grief in a private and thoughtful manner. Roberts obviously admired and respected Dan Blocker, even though he was not present. He praised Blocker in later years, saying he was generous, kind, and really hard not to like. It would be incorrect to assume that Robert was uncaring because he chose not to attend the funeral. Instead, it is a reflection of his own character, his method of grieving, and his wish to grieve in a private and controlled manner. Furthermore, this decision is contextualized by the dynamics of their personalities and careers. Roberts was a well-known critic and outspoken individual with strong morals who frequently questioned television norms and the restrictions imposed on him as an actor. On the other hand, Blocker was laid back, modest, and warmly and consistently accepted his role as Haas. Despite having a strong professional relationship and mutual respect, the two had very different personal outlooks on life, work, and emotion. Both these professional differences and Roberts' temperament probably had an impact on his absence. Let's now examine Dan Block's professional background. Dan Blocker, who was still in the early stages of his acting career, made a memorable appearance in the Outer Space Jitters short from The Three Stooges in 1957. He was billed as Don Blocker and played the part of the Goon. Even though it was a short role, it gave him a taste of screen comedy and exposed him to the timing and physicality required by the film industry. which would help him in his subsequent television roles. Blocker started making a name for himself in the Western television genre around that time. One of the most well-liked and enduring Western series of the time, Gunsmoke, featured him twice. He played a cavalry lieutenant in Alarm at Pleasant Valley, Season 1, Episode 39, which aired on August 24, 1956. He reappeared in the Thoroughbreds episode on October 18, 1958, 2 years later, delving once more into the world of gritty frontier tales. Blocker made an appearance as Will in the episode A Time to Die of the ABC Warner Brothers Western series Colt 45 in 1957. He appeared in 2 different episodes of David Doerr's NBC series The Restless Gun around the same time. He portrayed a variety of characters in these appearances, including a blacksmith and a resolute cattleman who intended to use his hard-earned wealth to return to his family's land in his home state of Minnesota. He was able to display both grit and humanity in these early roles, which later became defining characteristics of his on-screen persona. Blocker had a busy year in 1957. He portrayed bartenders in the movie Gunsight Ridge and the syndicated crime drama Sheriff of Cochise, which had a Western theme and starred John Bramfield. He also played Pete, one of the outlaw's goons, in the Cheyenne episode Land Beyond the Law. He quickly transitioned into other well-known TV westerns. His connection to frontier dramas was further cemented when he appeared in another guest role in The Rifleman. His versatility became apparent by 1958. In NBC's Cimarron City, starring Audrey Totter, John Smith, and George Montgomery, he played a prison guard before landing a recurring role as Tiny Buttinger. He was a perfect fit for parts that require a blend of toughness and warmth because of his rough physique and friendly manner. He also appeared as a guest star in Walt Disney's Zorro series The Senorita Makes a Choice in 1958. In the same year, he played Mule Conklin in Underground Ambush on Sergeant Preston of the Yukon and played Sergeant Brick in NBC's Wagon Trains, The Dora Gray Story. He also brought another supporting character to life in the Stagecoach episode of NBC Western Jefferson Drum that year. He further cemented his place in the television Western circuit in March 1958 when he starred as Joe, a thief in the episode Gunshy of Have Gun Will Travel. Blocker's repertoire extended beyond conventional cowboy parts. He played bearded poker with rodeo performer Cloudy Sims in the 1958 episode of Rodeo of Richard Diamond, starring David Jansen as a private investigator. The plot of the episode focused on the murder of Lee Van Clee's character Ed Murdoch, a fellow rodeo performer, shortly before his last show at Madison Square Garden. Blocker played Del Pierce in the first episode of the ABC Western series The Rebel, which starred Nick Adams in 1959. This role, which came at the end of a few years of intense television work, established Blocker as a familiar face in Western entertainment, the genre in which he would soon play his most well-known role. When Dan Blocker was chosen to play Eric Haas Cartwright on the NBC television series Bonanza in 1959, it was his big break. Over the course of 13 years, he made an incredible 415 appearances in the role that would define his career, and he remained with the show until his death in 1972. A gentle giant whose size and strength were equaled only by his warmth and sense of humor. Haas became one of the most lovable and enduring characters in Bonanza, one of the most popular and longest-running Western series in television history. Blocker took on the role with sincerity. He subsequently clarified that he derived the guiding principle for Haas's character from a quote made by Quaker missionary Stephen Grell in the 18th and 19th centuries. "On earth, we will only go this way once. Since we won't be passing this way again, let's do whatever good deed or kindness we can right now." Audiences found this philosophy to be very appealing because it gave Haas a sense of moral stability, compassion, and sincerity. Although Bonanza served as the foundation for his career, Blocker also dabbled in filmmaking. Playing against his television persona in a big screen setting, he co-starred with Frank Sinatra in the humorous comedy Come Blow Your Horn in 1963. when Sinatra played a threatening tough guy in Lady in Cement, the follow-up to the detective movie Tony Rome. In 1968, his collaboration with Sinatra continued. In the same year, Blocker's career crossed paths with Stanley Kubrick, one of the most famous directors in history. He was approached by Kubrick to play Major T.J. King Kong in Dr. In addition to his other roles, Peter Sears chose not to play the part in Strange Love or How I Learned to Stop Worrying and Love the Bomb. Co-writer Terry Southern, however, claims that Blocker's agent turned down the script without ever showing it to his client. The part ultimately went to Slim Pickens, whose shots of Atomic Bomb, A Stride, and Wild Ride are still among the most iconic in movie history. Outside of Bonanza, Blocker continued to land significant roles in television. In the 1968 NBC TV film, Something for a Lonely Man, he played John Killebrew, a blacksmith who convinced people to follow him to California and found the town of Arcana. Blocker portrayed a role that blended tenacity, leadership, and a hint of vulnerability. Co-starring in the movie were Don Strad, Warren Oates, John Daner, and Susan Clark. He played a shy, awkward man who was unlucky in love in the 1970 comedy western, The Cockeyed Cowboys of Calico County. Nanette Fabre played his romantic counterpart, while Jim Backus, Jack Elam, and Noah Berry Jr. made up the supporting cast, as well as Mickey Rooney. Blocker was able to showcase his comedic abilities in the role while maintaining the charisma that made Haas Cartwright so well liked. During his Bonanza years, Blocker also made appearances on other television shows, such as NBC's The Flip Wilson Show, where he brought his laid-back charm to a comedy variety show. After directing Bonanza episodes, Blocker became friends with director Robert Altman, who later intended to use him in his 1973 film, The Long Goodbye, as the alcoholic novelist Roger Wade. Sadly, Blocker passed away prior to the start of filming. Sterling Hayden was cast in the part, and Allman devoted the movie to Blocker's memory. In addition to his acting career, Blocker showed a keen business sense. He co-founded and acquired a portion of the Bonanza Steakhouse restaurant chain in 1963. As the chain's commercial spokesperson, Blocker, playing the role of Haas, made in-person appearances at franchise locations in return for his investment and promotional efforts. The eateries were a success, raising Blocker's profile outside of television. By the time of his death, Dan Blocker had established a career that included comedy, drama, film, and business, in addition to creating an enduring television icon. Haas Cartwright would go on to become one of the most adored characters in American television history, thanks to his kind demeanor and strong presence. When Pernell Roberts signed a deal with Kalia Pictures in 1957, it was a significant step toward his Hollywood career. The following year, he made his big screen debut in the 1958 adaptation of Eugene O'Neill's play, Desire Under the Elms. Roberts plays one of the tenth sons of Burl Ives's character, patriarch Ephraim Catt. In the movie, Roberts's range was put to the test in this tense, emotionally charged drama, which also provided him with an opportunity to compete with more seasoned actors. His first significant film role gained even more recognition when the movie received an Academy Award nomination for Best Cinematography. That same year, Roberts's early success continued when he was cast in a supporting role opposite Shirley Mann and Glenn Ford in The Sheepman, 1958. He demonstrated his charm and adaptability to a variety of genres with this lighthearted Western comedy. During this time, television also emerged as a crucial medium for Roberts. He made appearances in a number of Shirley Temple's storybook theater episodes, which included adaptations of Hiawatha, The Sleeping Beauty, Rumpelstiltskin, and The Emperor's New Clothes. He was a good fit for these literary and fairy tale productions because of his classical training and stage experience. Additionally, he appeared in the live broadcast anthology series Matinea Theater, where he starred in The Heart's Desire and returned to his Shakespearean roots in Much Ado About Nothing. Roberts then entered the Western television market, appearing in several episodes of Zay Grey Theater, Buckskin, and Trackdown. He played Captain Jacques Chavez in the adventure series Northwest Passage on NBC in 1958. He co-starred with Fa Spain as a guest star in the Pick Up the Gun episode of Tombstone Territory that same year. Roberts' portrayal of Travis, the main antagonist in the episode Hey Boys, Revenge, which aired on April 11, 1958, was another noteworthy performance in Have Gun, Will Travel. He played a cruel boss who took advantage of Chinese immigrant workers in this morally complex scene, adding a social commentary element to the action-packed narrative. Roberts was in great demand by 1959 and appeared as a guest star in numerous well-known television shows. His films include 77 Sunset Strip, The Detectives, Sugarfoot, Lawman, One Step Beyond, Bronco, Cimarron City, General Electric Theater, and House Call. He was a valued guest actor because of his versatility in playing a variety of roles, including frontier outlaw, military officer, and modern character. In the same year, Roberts co-starred with veteran cowboy actor Ranfee Scott in Bud Butter's Western Ride Lonesome. Despite being frequently referred to as a B film, Ride Lonesome is regarded as one of the best of the Scott-Bucker collaborations, which are renowned for their powerful moral undertones and concise storytelling. Roberts portrayed Sam Boone, a charismatic outlaw whose tense partnership with Scott's granite-faced cop, Ben Brigade, creates the main tension of the movie. In the end, will they cooperate or engage in a lethal confrontation? His scenes with James Coburn, who made his film debut as Boone's quiet sidekick, Wit, further enhanced his performance. The three men's chemistry gave the film a subtle depth that solidified its place as a Western classic. Roberts' growing number of Western roles may have made him feel the shadow of typecasting, but they also gave him some of his best work. And when he was chosen to play Adam Cartwright in the NBC series Bonanza in 1959, his career path would be irrevocably altered. He would become well known as a result of the role, joining Michael Landon, Lauren Green, and Dan Blocker in one of the most recognizable families on television. On NBC's enduring Western series, Bonanza, Pernell Roberts gained widespread recognition for his portrayal of Adam Cartwright, Ben Cartwright's urbane and reflective eldest son. Adam was portrayed as a sophisticated, intelligent man with a university degree in architecture, in contrast to his brothers, who were portrayed by Dan Blocker, Haas, and Michael Landon, Little Joe. Because of this distinction, Roberts was able to play a more sophisticated character who frequently served as the Cartwright sons' voice of reason. Nevertheless, Roberts, who had mostly left the stage and was found the shift to a long-term television series challenging because they were used to a strict diet of classical theater and the flexibility to switch between roles. It felt restrictive to him to play the same role every week without changing his costume. Even though Bonanza brought him a great deal of fame and success, he started to feel uneasy and unhappy. Roberts was publicly critical of the series by the middle of the 1960s. He took issue with its adolescent depiction of the relationship between the widowed father and his adult sons, its lack of diversity in casting, and what he perceived as its simplistic plots. In interviews, he questioned why three grown men would constantly ask their father for approval before making any decisions. He was also annoyed by the scripts, which he believed lacked the character development and attention to detail that had been promised when he signed on. Roberts bemoaned that the program had fallen short of its initial goal of having well-developed characters and plots in a 1964 statement to the Associated Press. According to reports, he referred to the show as junk television and charged NBC with encouraging banality and dehumanizing the business. Roberts also expressed dissatisfaction with his own work, saying, "I guess I'll never be satisfied with my own work." He longed for content with more adult themes and social relevance and detested the mass-produced assembly line aspect of television production. In 1966 on The Mike Douglas Show, "I wish Bonanza were a little more mature," he said. The producers of the show and Roberts were at odds by 1965. He didn't like his role's limitations, the fact that he couldn't do outside acting while he was under contract, and what he perceived as his character's wasted potential. "I haven't grown at all since the series began," he said bluntly in one interview, "and I have an impotent role. The father image is everywhere I look." In the end, Roberts decided against renewing his 6-year contract, going against industry recommendations to continue appearing on one of the highest-rated television programs. Dead and Gone, his last episode to be filmed, aired on April 4, 1965. Despite this, 2 of his previously finished episodes, A Good Night's Rest, April 11, 1965, and To Own the World, April 18, 1965, aired later. Adam had moved away, according to the series, which then speculated that he might be at sea, in Europe, or managing the family business on the East Coast. Roberts was rebellious, outspoken, and distant, according to Bonanza producer David Dortor, who also recognized that he could improve any scene he was in. Dorr hinted that Adam could have married and returned as a semi-regular character, and she regretted not trying harder to keep him on the show. Dorr acknowledged that I was too harsh on him. Although I knew he was good, I was unaware of his level of skill. No better. In the early 1990s, when NBC broadcast 2 Bonanza television films, the plot revealed that Adam Cartwright had relocated to Australia and had achieved the same level of success as his father, dominating the engineering and construction industry this time. Pernell Roberts made a lasting impression on Bonanza despite his brief 6-season tenure. His portrayal of Adam Cartwright gave the fictional Ponderosa a harmonious blend of intelligence, morality, and refinement, and his insistence on higher standards demonstrated his dedication to the acting profession as well as his personal values. How do you feel about the relationship and career of Pernell Roberts and Dan Blocker? Please share your thoughts in the space provided below. We hope this video has been useful to you. If you enjoy it, remember to subscribe to the channel, share it, and leave a like. I appreciate you watching, and I hope to see you in the upcoming videos. Farewell.